but I don't know if you're going to be able to. But I will have a few things to say about my work and where I'll be doing it, as you all, I think, already know. So thank you again for being here. First of all, I can confirm for you that Secretary Marco Rubio spoke with Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov. We have that the fact that Sergei Lavrov, again, in a phone call with the Secretary, regarding preparation for the upcoming summit between President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin, both sides confirmed their commitment to a successful event. I can also tell you that it was President Putin who called to make this arrangement as well. But of course, I will certainly take your questions as we move forward here. And now to our announcements. We are deeply saddened to learn of Colombian Senator Uribe's tragic death. Senator Uribe, his leadership and vision for Colombia's future were evident throughout his years of public service to the nation and the Colombian people. His vision and commitment to his country encouraged countless individuals at home, throughout the world, and his contributions to Colombia's democratic future, though obscenely halted, will endure and inspire future generations. As Secretary Marco Rubio has said, the United States stands in solidarity with Senator Uribe's family and the Colombian people, both in mourning and demanding justice for those responsible. And Deputy Secretary of State Christopher Landau will travel to Bogota today to attend the memorial services for the senator on Wednesday, August 13th. Also, further, the declaration of peace between Armenia and Azerbaijan has reaffirmed that President Trump is indeed the president of peace. Last week, he hosted the leaders of Armenia and Azerbaijan at the White House, where they signed a historic joint declaration for peace after decades of bitter conflict and too many lives lost, a landmark achievement for international diplomacy and an end to violence that only President Trump could deliver. The two leaders also signed bilateral economic agreements with the United States, unlocking the great potential of the South Caucasus region in trade, transit, energy, infrastructure, and technology, and creating new opportunities for the American people and American businesses. This achievement follows negotiated peace arrangements between Cambodia and Thailand, Israel and Iran, Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of the Congo, India and Pakistan, Egypt and Ethiopia, and Serbia and Kosovo, in addition to the remarkable achievement of the Abraham Accords. President Trump continues to prove that nations across the globe can move beyond long-standing conflicts of the past toward a shared future of peace, prosperity, and success. Now, today, the 2024 Human Rights Report has been released publicly on the State Department website. That is at state.gov, where everyone watching from home and around the world can access the report. The Human Rights Report has been restructured in a way that removes redundancy, increases report readability, and is responsive to the legislative mandates that underpin the report, rather than an expansive list of politically biased demands and assertions. The calendar year 2024 individual reports are more readable, objective, true to their statutory origins, and more useful than ever before. The report continues to call out the world's repressive actors while also addressing abuses that had not previously been covered. The United States has long promoted respect for international universal rights, including in our own founding documents, which asserts that human beings are, quote, endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, including life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Today, we reaffirm the words of those documents, which have served as a beacon of hope and freedom for people around the world. And again, at the end now of this briefing, I'll have a few words and about some news relating to my own work. But of course, now I am happy to answer your questions. All right. Yes, sir. And when I call you in the front row, if you could announce your name and your outlet, that would be terrific.
Yeah, absolutely. Dia Kuda with Huda Media Network. It's a Kurdish media outlet. First of all, Tammy, congratulations on your nomination by the President for the UN role. I'd start with Iraq and Syria. after you raised the concern of the PMF bill at the Iraqi parliament, which you think that it might increase the Iranian influence on Iraq. We saw yesterday the top Iranian security guy, Ali Rajani, he went to Baghdad and he signed a security agreement with Iraq. Do you have any concern with that agreement, and have you pushed Baghdad to not pass the PMF bill? If they pass, then there will be consequences for Iraq.
Well, we, as I think we've stated before, we oppose any legislation that is inconsistent with the goals of our bilateral security assistance and partnership and runs counter to strengthening Iraq's existing security institutions. We support genuine Iraqi sovereignty, not legislation that would turn Iraq into an Iranian satellite state. And so I think we've been clear in this particular instance, certainly, and others, that the future of nations should be in the hands of the people of those nations. And certainly our commitment here, as we've made clear, this particular dynamic runs counter to what our commitment has been regarding security in general.
Then I'll ask one question on Syria, then I'll let my colleagues ask their questions. The Syrian interim government has refused to join the meeting with SDF in Paris under auspice of U.S. and France. Does the United States believe that the Syrian government, the Syrian interim government, is adequately respecting the rights of minorities like Kurds and Druze who are seeking a decentralized Syria? And have you put any pressure on them to make these meetings happen, especially in Paris?
Well, this is why we have special envoys. Again, we're in regions that are unstable, that have had problems sometimes for generations, if not hundreds of years. So that automatically means that continual work has to be done to bring parties together. I will read a tweet from Ambassador Barak, who is our special envoy for Syria. He's noted from, well, was it today? Syria remains steadfastly committed to a united process that honors and protects all its constituencies, fostering a shared future for the Syrian people. And I think that that is his work. We know we've seen, of course, skirmishes reemerge, differences emerge, and that's what negotiators and diplomats are meant to do, which is kind of thread that needle and bring parties together. And that is exactly what Ambassador Barak is doing, and we look forward to his results. All right. Yes, ma'am.
And when you do part with Newsmax, congratulations on your to the United Nations.
Thank you.
Two questions for you. The influential Pakistani chief of defense has met with President Trump once and seems to have developed a strong relationship. Do you think that this will lead to more U.S. assistance to Pakistan via an increase in arms sales? And is this being done at the expense of the president's relationship with Modi?
Obviously, we had a experience with Pakistan and India when there was a conflict, one that could have developed into something quite horrible. I was here at the State Department at the time, and there was an immediate concern and immediate movement with the Vice President, the President, and the Secretary of State in addressing the nature of what was happening. Many of you who were in the room in the days afterward, we described the nature of the phone calls, the work that we did to stop the attacks and to then bring the parties together so we could have something that was enduring. And it's a very proud moment and a very good example of what Secretary Rubio was committed to, Vice President Vance in that, of course, case as well. But are the top leaders in this nation involved in stopping that potential catastrophe? I would say that our relationship with both nations is as it has been, which is good, and that is the benefit of having a president who knows everyone, talks to everyone, and that is how we can bring differences together in this case. So it's clear that the diplomats here are committed to both nations. I can tell you also that there has been a U.S.-Pakistan counterterrorism dialogue that was established. At this dialogue in Islamabad, the United States and Pakistan reaffirmed their shared commitment to combating terrorism in all its forms and manifestations during this latest round of the talks in Islamabad. The United States and Pakistan discussed ways to enhance cooperation to counter terrorist threats, and I think that for the region and for the world, the United States working with both those nations is good news and will promote a future that's beneficial.
Quick follow-up on the subject of relationships. When it comes to the summit with Putin, do you anticipate that Ukraine's Zelensky will be invited?
Well, I can tell you a few things the president has said. As I'd mentioned when I opened, that it was Putin who suggested this meeting. It is something that also my colleague Caroline Levitt discussed a great deal just a little bit ago at her briefing. And I think that that's important to know, that the president is viewing this, as she described, as something that was fact-finding in a way to see exactly what was possible. I do also want to bring to you some of his comments, which you may not have heard, regarding his commitment to our European partners and to Ukraine and President Zelensky. We know at this point, he said that this is really a feel-out meeting. He said, I'm going to meet with President Putin and we're going to see what he has in mind. And if it's a fair deal, I'll reveal it to the European Union leaders and to the NATO leaders, and also to President Zelensky. I think out of respect, I'll call him first, being President Zelensky, and then I'll call them afterwards. And if I may say, lots of luck, keep fighting, or I may say, we can make a deal. I've seen a poll out of Ukraine, the president said, 88% of the people would like to see a deal made. Lastly, he noted, as he does, the death is incredible. It's the worst thing that's happened by far. The worst that's happened since World War II. So I'm going in to speak to Putin, and I'm going to be telling him, you've got to end this war. You've got to end it. So we know what his agenda is, which is what it's always been. We know what has bothered him, which is the killing of civilians. We know that he has been not happy with President Putin, with his actions and what's happened in Ukraine. We know that he is going to inform President Zelensky and European leaders about what happens at this meeting, and then we will all find out what happened. And this is what I know the president has been caring about. Yes, Nadia.
Thank you, Tammy. Congratulations on the new job, and I guess soon we're going to call you Madam Ambassador.
Well, we'll wait. Just call me Tammy for now. That's a good one. I've been called worse things. Yes, ma'am.
So I have two questions. First, there is 26 foreign ministers who signed a joint statement calling on Israel to allow unrestricted access to Gaza. The GHF work is not enough by the standard of every organization that works there, and there is no evidence that Hamas actually stealing the food. So considering that, like international figures, whether it's McDonald's calling on the Pope to visit Gaza before it's too late, why not allowing other ways, including the UN, to help people who are on the precipice of dying, basically, of starvation?
Well, I will remind you, and I know you know because of your work, everyone here knows, that situation is rapidly evolving. We've been working from the beginning for a ceasefire, specifically for the reasons you've noted and that we all care about, which is the aid for the people of Gaza. Hamas has been at war with the people of Gaza. We've seen that through their refusal to stop this war. We know that they are the first victims. And our intention is, of course, is to stop that carnage. That's the bottom line. I can tell you that the aid dynamic, there has been more aid that has flowed in. We know that there is an understanding that this dynamic is changing. But even within the midst of this war zone, more food has arrived. I believe the GHF numbers at this point, I was briefed on this morning, is close to 120 million meals. And of course, also, as we've discussed, nothing will ever be enough in a war zone. The war zone has to stop. It has to end. So that is our recognition here. Our posture has not changed. Our actions have not changed. And yet the situation is fluid, more so than in recent days. And so I would ask you to recognize that, and we're working within that framework.
And The UN and also many of your allies have been asking for an independent commission to investigate the killing of Palestinian journalists in Gaza, who reached now at 247, including 5 of our colleagues who were killed the day before. So why not supporting an independent commission, considering that Israel has failed every time to investigate the killing of journalists or doctors or teachers in Gaza?
Well, I would take issue with your premise here. To say that Israel every time has failed to do that is not true. We know that, again, this is a nation fighting a war with a terrorist group that have always used human shields, have used hospitals, have used schools. It's been just the worst example of the barbarity of human beings, if you can call them that. It's been shocking. For Donald Trump to make the commitment to end this would be a tremendous gift to the entire world, as you know, and that is our commitment. We also we call on our ally and partner Israel to investigate these situations. I do it from this podium, and the United States does it. We expect investigations, and for a sovereign nation to engage in that, and then we'll follow up on. We see what those results are, but they do investigate. That is one of the things that, unlike other dynamics in war, Israel has done that, and they're transparent about it. So I would say that as we are working on all of this to stop, we encourage Israel always, and they do so as one of our, again, stalwart allies. And I think that their background proves that, in fact, look, they are minding their own business on October 7th. They are constantly dealing with those kinds of attacks. This is a chance for everyone to be able to have a future that is different. That's what we're looking for.
Investigation with us?
Yeah. Well, clearly, yeah. And I can't say for each situation because each one is different. But I know the goal here at the State Department, and why I felt very comfortable working with the people in this building, is that information is key, right? Is that knowing what's happening matters. That is your job as journalists. I respect that immensely. It keeps me centered. Knowing that we have to explain things or talk about them makes us view the news as it's coming up in a slightly different way. Makes us ask questions. That will never end. And so I trust that, well, I will be in some fashion asking the same questions. I know you will be as too. Andrea Mitchell.
Thank you so much.
Andrea Mitchell, please. Andrea Mitchell.
Thank you so much, Tammy, and congratulations on your new adventure.
Thank you. That's what it will be, I'm sure.
And I have a couple of things to follow up on that. But
Yes.
First of all, do we have any update on what Ambassador Huckabee said would be 16 new distribution centers for food in Gaza? And as the U.S. tries to deal with 2 wars simultaneously as part of the challenge that the president is facing,
Right.
with this summit, President Zelensky said today that after the overnight attacks, which were throughout his country, that there is evidence, as far as he's concerned, that President Putin is not committed to peace, but is committed to plans for a new offensive against Ukraine. So going into these negotiations, with what President Zelensky says is an imbalance in what is going on the battlefield right now, how does the president hope to try to get President Putin to abandon this commitment that seems obvious from the battlefield, by day after day advancing?
Let me answer the first question about. First of all, we have nothing else to announce regarding the ambassador's remarks about the increase in sites for GHF. Of course, that would be welcome news, but when we see that we have more, we'll let you know. I'll remind you also that the president's not calling this a negotiation. He is not the one that asked for it. This is what, as I've equated to you before, his remarks were that this is to see what's happening, to see what's possible. So the negotiation, I think, is certainly not the right word. How he expects to get to where he gets, I won't have details for you in that regard, but there's a reason why he's the one there and we aren't. He is clearly, the list that I read out to you regarding being the president of peace is an astounding one. Perhaps it's situations around the globe that just didn't interest other people. But for President Trump, Everyone matters. He sees these dynamics, which his presence and the power of the United States is able to change, and he knows that. He has many tools in his tool chest. We know, of course, that he had remarked about secondary sanctions on those who are buying Russian oil. That's one thing of many that can happen. We know, of course, of NATO's commitment regarding defensive weapons and helping and assisting Ukraine. There's many things that are moving that should have an impact that President Trump, I don't know what his approach will be. What I do know is that I'm grateful that he's the president, that I'm able to be here, read to you a list of ceasefires and peace agreements, and know that he's meeting with Putin in regard to one of the most outrageous dynamics that we've experienced. I will also remind people that he has met alone with President Zelensky. He has met alone with European leaders. This is a man who is doing everything possible and fairly to get an end to this carnage.
Just a quick follow-up.
Yes, ma'am.
There's been a lot written that by just granting Vladimir Putin, who has been charged with war crimes by people, by other countries around the world, by granting him a summit with the leader of the United States on U.S. soil, it's already a victory for Putin because he is the aggressor here and he has refused to agree to a ceasefire.
Andrea, this will be it. The president is not operating on what something might look like. He's operating on how to stop obscene carnage among innocent civilians in Ukraine. And that is, he took some heat when he started talking to Putin, because Biden hadn't talked to him for 3 years. You don't make peace through performative actions or theater. You make it by talking to people. And this is what he's committed to. This is the end goal. The end goal is not performance or perception, or it's getting the job done. And I'm honored that I can be here and at least be a part of reminding people, because he's done. We know him. He's a remarkable achiever, not just in business, but in knowing people and knowing how to get what he wants. And he wants peace, and he wants an end to carnage around the world. And this country is in this position now because of him and because of the power of the American people, and we're going to use it. And so I'm praying for a good result. And with President Trump, we very well may get one. Yes, Daphne.
Thank you, Tammy, and I'll echo my congratulations on your nomination.
Not that anyone knows what I want to mention at the end of the briefing now, but yes, go ahead. Thank you.
On the human rights report, the State Department has cut down criticism of some countries that have extensive records of human rights abuse, including in El Salvador, where the State Department said there was no credible reports of significant human rights abuses, cutting an entire paragraph from last year's report that mentioned issues such as arbitrary arrests and harsh and life-threatening prison conditions. What is this change based on? Has El Salvador taken any steps to change these issues, or how did the State Department determine that these abuses were no longer taking place?
Well, I'm not going to speak from country to country. This is something that is available. People can go look. Again, Americans, obviously, the reporters here in this room have had it for a little bit of time and have had a chance to take a look at it, which is important. Again, state.gov, and you can search for a human rights report, and you'll get all the countries, et cetera. First thing I want to mention is that every administration in a transition year has to deal with this particular product, this particular report, for the last calendar year to be released by a new administration. And there's always changes. As you might imagine, if someone is the new president, you got a new administration, the American people made a choice, and they clearly are taking over for the previous administration. Each administration, like with President Trump, reflects a value system and an agenda and a vision that convince the American people to vote for them. And in this case, President Trump always, as ever, I should say, was clear and obvious about the nature of what he wanted to achieve, and the American people agreed with him. This report, as a result, because it was also late, and many of you noted that, it was late because we weren't, just like with other administrations, we weren't going to release something compiled and written by the previous administration. It needed to change based on the point of view and the vision of the Trump administration. And so those changes were made. In addition to the fact that one of the things we're proud of, and what you'll also see next year, is the notion of something being readable by people, something being a reflection overall of what it is that we're dealing with certain nations. So it does not, the restructuring doesn't reflect a change of any U.S. policy when it comes to human rights. It certainly promotes, as does our work, respect for human rights around the globe. It does not reflect on any particular country. We've stopped ranking countries, by the way. People can make their own decisions about what nations are doing. So that is one thing also that is over. We also, I want to mention the notion of how large the report had become in its condemnation of nations and its the detailed listing of certain things. But what I can say is, and I think it's pretty clear, that you can issue reports, you can make them giant, but it depends on what we do. The Trump administration has proven from day one their commitment to human rights around the globe and to the quality of people's lives. We will have perhaps some, in this case, smaller reports, but I would suggest that you watch the actions that are taken by an administration and that commitment to human rights. In this case, you could have giant reports from the Biden administration as the world began to collapse into war, into conflicts, and it's a reminder. So reports are important. Transparency about our positions are important. That's what these reports will serve. And I can tell you again, for the people who work here at the State Department, these reports do matter. And our actions as a nation also back up the nature of our commitment to human rights.
I understand that this is a narrowed report, but can you explain why this was changed and why an entire paragraph on rights abuses was omitted from this report?
Well, again, I won't go into the details of each country. What I do know is that the approach and the attitude of what we expect, and new complaints are added in. Complaints regarding censorship of people in various countries has been added in that had not been dealt with before. So I'm not going to speak on the decisions that our diplomats have made in looking at the nature of the report of the data that they're receiving. But I can tell you that the nature of the attitude, the reason for the report hasn't changed. It is to make sure people know what's happening around the world, what our posture is toward that, and our actions show our willingness and our commitment to changing the quality of life in people around the world. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Tammy. I just want to follow up on Nadia's question. You said that you urge Israel always to investigate, and they do investigate in some incidents. But I want to go back to Sunday's incidents when a airstrike struck a tent of journalists. 4 of them are my colleagues, killing them. And there is no need for investigation here because the IDF statement was clear that they targeted Anas al-Sharif, my colleague, claiming that he's a leader of a Hamas cell that fires rockets into Israel without providing any proof. And this will add to 238 journalists who died in Gaza in 2 years. 11 of them are my colleagues, 11 of them. And my question is, are you comfortable with all the claims and excuses that Israel made to target those journalists, whether they are my colleagues or the other 200?
Well, what I can tell you, and I think what's been apparent from this podium, is our concern about the loss of any innocent life. We've made that clear. The work of the people in this building is committed to that. And it's every day, every briefing certainly, we have examples of that. It is difficult for you. Some of you are war reporters, and you go into those zones, and I respect that immensely. So I'm not in a position, nor will I discuss my feelings. That's not what I'm here for, whether I'm comfortable or uncomfortable. What I will tell you is that we refer you to Israel for information regarding al-Sharif. Israel has released evidence that Sharif was part of Hamas and was supportive of the Hamas attack on October 7th. They're the ones who have the evidence. They're the ones who can be reached, and will hopefully talk with you and certainly talk with others who reach out to them. I will remind you And this is, again, as we're dealing with a complicated, horrible situation, is that Hamas historically has had members who are embedded in society, including posing as journalists. It is a horrible thing to do for those of you who are committed to finding information for people, to be in that situation. It's horrible in any war. I think some of us, if not most of us, have met someone who's been injured or know of someone who's been killed, who we've worked with because of a war situation. They are a terrorist organization. They launch rockets from near hospitals. They have bases under hospitals and schools. We've seen this happen over and over again. We've become in some ways inured to the inhumanity of that. And what I can tell you is what this administration is trying to do, is trying to stop it, finally, once and for all. That's what I can speak to, is Secretary Rubio's focused passion on getting things done in what is a short period of time. And my goodness, it's been 7 months, and they're doing it. And that's what, again, regarding the specific instance, very big news, but that's my request and my comments on that exclusively. Yes, sir. We're moving on. Go ahead, Tom.
I mean, you've said